Hello, it's me, your host of the party, Kenny Polcari. Today is Friday, September 24th. And here I am in beautiful Boca Raton, Florida, and I'm coming right at you. So what's happening? Oh my God, yesterday was one hell of a day. Considering how the week started on Monday, which felt like a disaster, yesterday felt like a party, right? So global markets are digesting, and global markets are digesting this morning that surge up yesterday where we saw U.S. markets all higher across the board, European markets higher across the board. But today's action is no surprise. China now has two issues. They've got Evergrande and they've now got crypto. We'll talk about that in a minute. Bitcoin and Ethereum are now under pressure as a result of the latest headline coming out of China. There's no economic data to drive the market today, so it's all about the continued interpretation of the Fed. What's it mean? What's it mean for the U.S. economy? And what are we having for dinner tonight? We're going to have the pan-roasted chicken in a Dijon white wine sauce. It is delicious. I started a podcast about 2 months ago, and you can click on it at weissinvestor.com, or you can go to Apple, Spotify, and Stitcher and hear it as well. It is the Weiss Investor podcast hosted by Kenny Polcari. This week, I interview Scott Shellady, the cow guy. Many of you may know. Anyway, stocks rocked it yesterday, right? Soaring back to all-time highs after Jay Powell did it again, telling investors that it's okay now, it's time to move on. And investors absolutely loved it, growing more confident that the economy can withstand the removal of stimulus in the months ahead. Stocks rose sharply, but not nearly as sharply as JETS, the airline ETF, which rose 2.7% as the world reopened. Yesterday, the Dow ended up gaining 506 points, or 1.5%. The S&P's up 54, 1.2%. The Nasdaq up 156, 1%. The Russell gaining 41 points, or 1.8%, while the transports rallied 233 points, or 1.7%. Energy leading the pack, gaining 3.5%, while Gush, which is the direction S&P oil and gas exploration production 2 times levered bullish ETF, gained even more, rising nearly 9%. Financials up 2.5%, industrials up 1.5%, basic materials up 1.5%, tech up 1.3%, consumer discretionary up 1%. The loser, if there were any, utilities. They gave up 0.5%, and that makes sense. The value trade rising 1.5%, while the growth trade rose just 1%. So they're going neck and neck. The 10-year Treasury ended the day yielding 1.4%, up from 1.33%, and that's a big move as money poured out of Treasuries and into stocks. Remember, yield moves in the opposite direction of price. So as money moves out of Treasuries and prices decline, yields rise. And yesterday, that's what we saw. Money move out of Treasury and into stock. Gold fell 2% to end the day at 1742, which makes sense as the angst and fear subsides. And the VIX, which measures just that, angst and fear, fell 10%, ending the day at 1863. Oil, as I said, was hot. Rose 1.4% to end the day at 73.24 a barrel. U.S. inventories fell to the lowest level in 3 years. Capacity utilization rates at the East Coast refineries hit 93%. OPEC Plus struggling to raise output as maintenance delays have hampered their efforts to raise output. In the end, demand is alive and well, and I've been saying it. Evergrande, the Chinese company that caused all kinds of havoc on Monday, is no longer relevant to global investors, or at least that's what they're telling us. No matter what, no one seems to care. Unless, of course, you're a bondholder that didn't get your bond payment, which you didn't get last night. They missed the $83 million payment, which was due at noon yesterday, our time, but we knew that. We knew that potentially was going to be a miss, so the markets are not really surprised. Under the rules, they've got 30 days to cure the miss before anyone accuses them of defaulting on the obligation. The stock, which had rallied 18% on Thursday, fell 12% yesterday, or overnight, Friday. China, as you know by now, has told its citizens to prepare for a possible storm as they predict the demise of the company. And that's going to be an issue for China, but the rest of the world at the moment does not seem to be paying any attention. This morning, U.S. futures are a bit lower, but that's no surprise, right? Because if you are surprised, you should go back to bed. After the week we've had, the ricochet action makes perfect sense as investors try to assess what the new outlook is. Dow futures this morning are down 114. The S&Ps are off 20. The Nasdaq down 35. The Russell down 13. The media is trying to tie today's weakness to the Evergrande bond payment miss. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. That may be the reason for weakness in China or concern across Asia, but it is not the reason for weakness in Europe and the US today. Think about what happened yesterday, the surge in prices. So there's some digestion. Remember, the markets got whacked on Monday, falling through trendline support swiftly and decisively. So this boomerang type action that we're seeing is not unexpected as investors try to price in the latest data from the Fed, what that means for the U.S. economy, what's it mean going forward. Right now, everyone thinks it's a bed of roses, and I'm not trying to say that maybe it isn't. I just think that it's a bit of an overreaction, right? But let's see what happens in the months ahead. I, for one, do not think that the taper begins in 2021. They may announce it. They may announce the start of the taper like at the November meeting, but I don't think that Jay Powell and the Fed is going to begin the pullback in December and risk a swift tantrum that's most likely possible when investors realize exactly how much support the Fed has been responsible for. Recall what happened back in 2018, December 2018, when the market lost a quick 20% over the course of 4 weeks after Benny told us that policy was about to change. Now, I understand that was then and this is now. I get it, and Jay Powell's been very good about the narrative, but I am not convinced that there won't be a repricing of assets. Not a crash, not a disaster, but a repricing based on a slowing economy and the loss of stimulus that's going to happen, right? And I don't think that Jay Powell wants to create that narrative at this point. He's already told us it's coming, so we know it. He just didn't tell us when. I think he's kept it specifically unclear on when exactly it is coming on purpose, because it gives, if Jay Powell really thought that all systems would go and everything was great, then he missed the opportunity to initiate it. He should have initiated it Wednesday. He should have said it's going to start then. I'm not so sure that he thinks it yet, so I also don't think he's going to launch it in the final 4 weeks of the year. I do not think it's going to be a December event. I think it's still going to be an early 2022 event. Stocks in Europe are lower this morning after their strong rally. European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde telling the world that Europe's direct exposure to Evergrande is limited. The Bank of England announced that there's a possibility that they move on rates in November of 2021 to try and slow the rising pace of inflation that is now wreaking havoc across the kingdom. Now, if that's the truth, then the Bank of England is going to have first mover advantage over the Fed. As a result of this, UK two-year debt is now yielding 16 basis points more than U.S. two-year debt, ending a 6-year stretch where the U.S. notes are exceeding their British counterparts. In economic news, the IFO Institute in Germany is reporting that business sentiment fell for a third consecutive month in September. As of 6:30 this morning, markets across the European region are all down between 0.33% and almost 1%. Eco data today in the United States includes new home sales. Expectations are plus 1% month over month. And in a blow to the cryptocurrency world, or maybe not, China announced this morning that all cryptocurrency related activities are illegal and vows a harsh crackdown. The People's Bank of China has made it clear that cryptos are not legal tender, and all services offering trading, order matching, token issuance, and derivatives of virtual currencies are now strictly prohibited. Bitcoin and Ethereum are taking a hit. Coinbase is quoted down $10 or 4%, right? Bitcoin's now trading down 5% at like 42,000. Ethereum's down almost 9% at 2,800. The S&P ended the day at 4448. Bringing us within 100 points of the 2021 highs, right? And now, once again, on the north side of the trend line, which, was support, then it became resistance, now support again. Next week could be interesting, as that's the end of the quarter, and there's going to be a lot of jockeying by portfolio managers to rearrange and reallocate holdings to reflect the month-end pricing. October can also offer some uncertainty for markets, so you got to remember, just stick to the plan. Remember, you can text the word invest at 21,000 on your cell phone to get my digital business card. Feel free to download it, send me off an email, a text, give me a call, whatever. I'm always happy to engage. Talk markets, talk planning, thoughts, concerns, ideas, whatever you got in your mind, right? You can follow me on Twitter or TikTok at Kenny Polcari, and I'm on Instagram at KennyP1961. Okay, so what are we having for dinner tonight? This is really a simple dish, but it's so good. It's a chicken dish, but it's pan roasted with Dijon mustard and white wine, salt and pepper. It's simple to make. You can serve it with, a side of sauteed spinach or broccolini or broccoli. You could even make roasted potatoes and a big salad. One way or the other. For this, what you're going to need is 2.5 pound chicken or so. You want it washed, clean. You want to cut it up into parts. You need olive oil, you need salt and pepper, white wine, shallots, minced shallots, right? You need fresh rosemary and about a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. Make sure your chicken's all cut up. You want to wash it, you want to pat it dry. Then you want to season it, so sprinkle it with salt and pepper and rub it with some fresh rosemary. All the different parts that you've cut up, make sure that everything is seasoned and rubbed with rosemary. Preheat your oven to 450 degrees. The oven needs to be fully heated before you put the chicken in there. So make sure you turn your oven on, just let it get hot while you're doing everything else. Now, in a heavy bottom skillet, you want to heat up some olive oil just until it begins to shimmer, right? And now turn the burner down to medium high and then start to cook the chicken pieces in batches. You can't cook it all in there because it'll draw the heat from the pan, so you want to do it in batches. You don't want to overcrowd the pan. You want to do like 6 minutes each side, right? You want to brown the chicken all over. Once you've cooked every piece, now you want to put it back in a Pyrex dish and then put it in the hot oven, the 450 degree oven, for 12 to 15 minutes. After that, you're going to remove the chicken. We're going to remove the chicken and reserve it, right? Just take it out of the oven. Now, in the skillet, you're going to add the shallots, the rosemary, the white wine. You're going to let that all come to a boil, and then you're going to whisk in the Dijon mustard. Now, you're going to have kept the oil that you fried the chicken in. Don't get rid of that, right? You want to mix that all together. Once you've done that, you want to add the chicken now back to the saute pan. In that sauce, you kind of want to spoon the sauce over the different chicken parts. Turn the heat down to low, and just let it simmer on low for 5 to 7 minutes, maybe. Depends on how thick the pieces really are. You might want to let it go a little bit longer, but no more than that, because you've already cooked it for 6 minutes once, and that's been in the oven 15 minutes. I got to cook it for another 6 or 7 minutes. So the chicken in the pieces should be done nicely, right? Once you do this, you want to serve it with, like I said, sauteed spinach, maybe some roasted potatoes. You could drink. You could really drink a red or a white wine with this if you want. But again, I wouldn't drink anything too heavy if you're going to drink a red. Maybe a Pinot Noir works nicely with this. I would typically drink white just because red gives me agita. So I don't drink too much red. But the white doesn't do that. In any event, it's Friday morning, right? The weekend's coming. Remember, sit down, pay attention, try to eliminate the noise, stick to the plan. And until I see you again, take good care.